I think it's absolutely unfathomable that actually we'd be sitting here tonight in front of the electorate and telling them that there's not going to be a government on the other side of this election. This is a democratic process that we're all engaged in. And I listened to Jeffrey speak about, what he wants to do in executive, or even Doug in terms of negotiating a programme for government. And those things are all important, and let's have those conversations. But what I still don't hear tonight, even in these first few minutes of this conversation, is that if they're going to accept the democratic outcome of the election. I think that's what the public want to hear. I've been on the doors, we all have, and we've all engaged in the public for a considerable period of time now, and the things that the public want us to respond to is trying to put money in their pockets to help them deal with the cost of living crisis. It's about trying to invest in our health service. But I think the DUP are dishonest with the public because they're holding us all to ransom, they're holding our politics to ransom, and they're holding our public to ransom. Whilst the rest of us want to put money into people's pockets and deal with the cost of living crisis, the DUP are telling people that their identity is under threat when that is not a question whatsoever.
It's not what we're telling the people of Northern Ireland, Michelle.
And if you let me finish the point, Jeffrey, and then sure, come back to me. But what you're telling the electorate is that you won't accept the democratic outcome of the election, and I want us to make politics work. But Jeffrey made a point about consensus politics, and I think that's an important conversation. I believe in partnership working, and I believe in working with others. But when Jeffrey refers to consensus politics, he means on his terms, and that is not where we are today, and that's not where we're going to be again in the future.
We're going to have to call time on this question. No.
I mean, I've always made the case that we have the outworking of the Good Friday Agreement, and that we should have the public should have their say in a border poll or a unity referendum. And that conversation is already underway, and I think Brexit has been a real catalyst for that conversation. And a lot of more people are entering into that conversation, but it needs to be a healthy debate. And we need to have the conversations around what that would look like into the future. So when I say the election's about change, it's about the future, it's about how we can plan for a better future for all of us together. But what I am saying in terms of this election, it's about the things that we have mentioned in the first few minutes of this debate. It's about the cost of living. It's about what the executive can do in terms of that. We wouldn't have a protocol to discuss tonight if we didn't have Brexit. The hardest possible Brexit, which you can take a lot of responsibility for delivering with all the other partners. But what we need to do now is find ways to make the smooth implementation of the protocol, to make it work, to bring that certainty and stability that our business community really desire. We need to have that, otherwise people can't plan for the future. So let's find ways to make the protocol work, to iron out any of the kinks that are there. That's what the rest of us want.
Okay.
We sought to find mitigation against Brexit, and a number of the parties here worked together, and we achieved the protocol, and I'm glad we achieved the protocol. Now let's make it work. In terms of being able to deal with the cost of living crisis in the here and now, £230 into every household is what we're proposing, and that's fully costed in terms of what Conor Murphy put forward as the Finance Minister. But that's only one thing alongside all the other energy fuel support schemes that we've also brought forward. But Doug's absolutely right. There's a lot of these things that are not within the gift of the Assembly. They're the powers that still lie in Westminster, and I can assure you there's nobody in the Tory party who's sitting worrying at night over how they're going to heat their home or put food on their table. If you look at the staff in the health service who have went above and beyond, been absolutely amazing throughout this pandemic and across a number of other public services. If we're going to look after those people who actually look after us, then we must invest in them. They're the public service asset, if you like. So I think there's a lot of work to be done there. We have to fight for our health service. We have to fight for the NHS. We wouldn't have got through the last 2 years without those people that actually went over and above to get us through the pandemic years. But what we now need to do is fix what's wrong, and we all know what's wrong. A lady died in the streets of Newry waiting for an ambulance to come. That's not to discredit the ambulance service. It's because the system is broken and it must be fixed now. Others can say that it's a priority, but you actually have to back that up then by supporting the budget, which is to give that £1 billion extra. But people have to understand what that's for, and it's for a reason. It's to deal with the waiting list backlog. Over 400,000 people.
And will that involve the private sector, just to be clear?
So part of Robin's elective care plan, which is basically how you do scheduled operations without them being interrupted by emergency care, is actually looking at temporarily using some of that, but we should not. That's not our solution. Our solution is investing in our health service, investing in our staff, a workforce plan, safe staffing levels, a recruitment and retention strategy. These are all the things that actually are the components that will bring together a better health system. There is dire chronic need for this extra £1 billion in health, and that's why we've prioritised it.